Hey, it's Tula and Tania here. Welcome back to the channel where we talk and do all things design. Today I'll be talking to you guys about 5 new interior design styles that I've been seeing lately, because I know there's a lot of trends going on, a lot of old school with new school, especially in fashion and now in interior design. So I wanted to give my take on that, and let's get it. First we have postmodern. With this one, I kind of mixed in, this is more like an overarching category of other branches of interior design that I've seen so far, such as like Danish pastel and Art Deco. When we talk about postmodern, it really makes me think of lush fabrics, rounded items, and more colorful items as well. So that's why I kind of put Danish pastel and Art Deco in this same category, because these are the more colorful interior designs of the 3 that I've found so far. Art Deco really emphasizes more about architecture and actual visual arts, okay? So it's not just about the decorating of the space that you're doing, it really brings in the actual architecture of the space that you're decorating. Art Deco is more of a post-century modern, I know I just come up with that word, with like a soft glam to me. I call it glam being the style that it's picking off of, and mid-century modern, which is very interesting because glam is something that kind of went out a few years ago with the gold and the silver chrome finishes and things like that. But that's also what I'm seeing with Art Deco, where they're bringing in medieval time things, where you're bringing in the architecture, bringing in the architectural design of the whole building and the history of the building with the newness of glam. That's basically what I see with Art Deco, and that's why I put it into the category of postmodern. That brings me into Danish pastel, which I believe is more of like a minimal bohemian mixed with Scandinavian, where you can have, I say minimal bohemian because when you think of the typical bohemian, you usually think of maximalism and a lot of items like scavenged items that come from different walks of life, or the parts of life that you've experienced and you've just gathered and, you know, decided to decorate your house with. But I say minimal bohemian in a way where you're taking the aspects of gathering different items, which I like a lot more within interior design in general now, where it's a lot of scattered pieces. It's not necessarily a whole living room set, if that makes sense. Like every single couch is going to be the exact same way. But back to Danish pastel, I say it being minimal bohemian and Scandinavian because it's more of like a thought out bohemian. You know, like there can be colorful things, there can be scavenged items mixed in, but not necessarily full bohemian where you're thinking about the drab and the shabby things, the used looking items. Also now bohemian has really modernized into a more flat, toned down bohemian as well, rather than what it's originated from being colorful, just embracing all of the colors and the cultures within all of the items that you have. Now the typical bohemian is more flat, beige, and curated in a way where they've had to, they try to create the typical bohemian by buying pieces, but that takes away from the actual meaning of the bohemian lifestyle and the bohemian style in itself. So Danish pastel reminds me of the aspects of bohemian mixed with the colorfulness, the minimalism thrown in there as well, and just like a little more retro Scandinavian feel as well. So that's why I put all of those Art Deco and Danish pastel in the overarching category of postmodern. So you can go either way you would like necessarily with postmodern, but I just believe that that's a more trendy style of interior design that we're getting into now, because with the Gen Z, Gen X, a lot of younger generations, it's like we like the pops of color, we like the scavenged item feel, but also with the put togetherness, the feel of Scandinavian. That's very minimal, you know, pleasing on the eye, aesthetic-y, you know, but bringing in more color is what Danish pastel is. So moving on to modern organic. Modern organic really, to me, I believe it's like a mix of contemporary and Scandinavian, where most of the time the colors are usually very neutral tones, very earthy tones, where you're going to see your beiges, you're going to see your whites, concrete, and a lot of textures used would probably be wool, stone, very rustic materials mixed with lighter woods possibly, and also like lighter items and lighter materials like cotton and items that give a nature-esque feel is what I see in modern organic nowadays. But I say a mix of contemporary and Scandinavian because minimal hues and styles from the Scandinavian, but also contemporary where you see black, white, the color palettes of contemporary, which usually don't go too far. But modern organic can also bring in a lot of organic, you know, that's why I say nature-esque feel. So you might see like olive green, or just like pampas in the corner, or just a lot of, slight plants, not too many plants, but like maybe 1 or 2 plants in the room, and also maybe a little bit of pampas. Bring me into the third style is Grand Millennial, aka Granny Chic or Cottagecore specifically are the two that I'm looking more into. I really wanted to involve this one into these categories because with me, I'm more of a colorful person, more of someone who leans into the colorful sides of interior design. But I also thought that this was a little different from postmodern. You know, postmodern is more so the young flair of colorful, but Grand Millennial and Granny Chic or Cottagecore is more so like that's more modern. Although the name says postmodern, it's really more modern in Danish pastel and Art Deco. But when you get into Grand Millennial, Granny Chic, and Cottagecore, that's more postmodern, where you're thinking about the previous times. You're thinking about the millennial times and the times where, you know, a few generations previous. So, but also still bringing a modern twist into it. So, like I said at the beginning, we're seeing a lot of design just kind of being tweaked, not necessarily new designs coming out, but basically being tweaked by adding postmodern things with modern things and really calling it something new. And we see that with fashion as well as home decor as well. So with that, I see Grand Millennial being a twist on boho concepts with basically scavenged items and items that might not necessarily all come from the corporate store, you know, like Crate and Barrel or RH or Article, but more so stores that have like thrifted items or a consignment store. You know, most of the time, Granny Millennial or Grand Millennial Granny Chic is more of like the boho scavenge, like boho concepts, you know, mixed with a little bit more class, a little bit more flair, okay? But also with maximalist hints, because to be in maximalism and bohemian category, you know, to call yourself that, you technically are leaning more towards the maximalist than minimalist. So when you think of Grand Millennial, you're thinking of patterns, you're thinking of wallpaper, you're thinking of just like they say Granny Chic, because typically when I think of it, I think of like a person of color's grandma's living room. You know, how she might have like a floral print couch with like a random other couch or sitting area on the side. You know, you have the wallpaper, but just a lot more color and prints and patterns brought in, but also mixing in the classy things with, you know, you might have bases. You also might have a little bit of gold here and there. So a little bit with boho and an eclectic twist. This is more boho and eclectic. in my opinion. Those are the 3 interior design styles that I wanted to explain a little bit more and give my little take on what other interior design styles that I think they're nipping at. Because honestly, I don't think that there's anything original that's going to be coming out within style nowadays or design, but you can call something new by picking up inspiration from previous styles, right? So each his own. So basically, you might just find something that fits a little bit of everyone. Whether you like minimalism or maximalism or color or neutral tones, there's a little bit of everything for everyone.